So that's Saturday night, 8:15, Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys. The schedule makers, when they put this one on the board, they say, hey, these two teams could be good. This could be a nice way to finish the season. They nailed this one. Lions and Cowboys, both 11-4, both battling potentially for the number one overall seed. Sorry, the Cowboys are 10-5. Number one seeds in play for Detroit. We talked about that the other day. Dallas favored by 6 here, though, at home. And I haven't checked the update, but I did see somewhere this is the highest total in any game this year. So
any game this year?
Yeah. The man in Vegas is expecting a shootout here between Lions and Cowboys.
Wow. What is the total?
Low 50s, 52 or something like that. I haven't looked.
53.5.
Yeah, there you go.
With 90% of the cash coming in on the over.
On the over.
97%.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, Dallas last week, they were in Miami in one of those heavyweight battle type of games, two of the best teams in the NFL, and it ends up 22-20 and slowed down after it looked like it might have been a shootout. What are we going to get here with Lions Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those classic litmus test games for both teams, I think. I mean, they've had a few of them. Like Dallas, the narrative is going to be against them because they lost the game against Miami. But I think they showed that they can beat a team like that. They just didn't in that game. But if they do that again, like that's the problem, is they come close and don't get there. So to an extent, it's valid. Like they actually need to get over the hump against some of these teams because you're going to have to do it multiple times in the playoffs if you want to go on any kind of run. Detroit is another one of those teams that can cause them all kinds of problems. Now, with Detroit, it's a case of, can the good version of the team show up, or do they have one of those clunking games that they have every few weeks? That's their problem. But from a matchup point of view, like Dallas's offense should absolutely be able to have all kinds of success against Detroit's defense. And I think whether or not you get a passing version of the Lions offense or they just run the ball mercilessly, that should have success as well. So I think the over does make sense. A high-scoring game does make sense. There's just enough defense on either side to keep it interesting, but it should be a pretty high-octane shootout.
Yeah, this is the Lions' run game, especially with the narrative for the Cowboys in recent weeks. When they don't have Jonathan Hankins out there, Mozzie Smith has not been great holding the point. They've got these undersized linebackers, basically safeties playing in the box. And when they do put linebackers out there, Damon Clark last week, picking the wrong gap with the game on the line on 3rd and 2, leaving a wide open hole for the Dolphins to pick up 6 and basically clinch the game. Dallas's run defense, and it was just 2 weeks ago that they got gashed by the Buffalo Bills and James Cook on the ground. So the Cowboys' run defense has had the microscope on them in recent weeks, even though for the season it's not bad as a team. But in recent weeks, microscope on the Cowboys' run defense and the Lions' rushing attack with Jahmyr Gibbs, with David Montgomery, with Penei Sewell having one of the best seasons we've seen from a tackle, I think, in PFF history, especially from a run game perspective. The Lions have all the ingredients to exploit that. So, yeah, I think it's a great matchup, I think, on that side of the ball. The Lions and Cowboys, both teams have not been nearly as good on the road as they've been at home as far as putting points on the board. And, Dallas being at home, I think, is huge. That's why they're favored by 6. But I think Detroit has the ability to slow the game down, dominate on the ground, and then other side of the ball, Dak against this Detroit defense. The defense has been kind of hit or miss in Detroit, both in the secondary, and we've talked a lot about their inconsistency getting pressure outside of Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally been miss. Not so much hit or miss, just miss.
It's been like last week, they gave up a ton of yards.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
But then they got turnovers.
Nick Mullins had 7 turnover-worthy plays, but he also had like 11 yards per attempt and put up 400 on them.
Right.
Like that Lions defense has been getting fairly well gashed, and I don't imagine Dak Prescott is going to have the kind of implosion in terms of turnovers that Nick Mullins had. So, yeah, it feels like Detroit's defense is going to have its work cut out slowing down Dallas.
Yeah, that would be my concern, would be that side of the ball for the Lions. And like I said, it sounds like James Houston will have his practice window opened up, could be back for the playoffs. But the Lions have already clinched the division. I don't think that affects how they play here. I think if Detroit loses this game, they might be in rest the starters mode in Week 18, because I don't know if I assume if they lose given what the Eagles and Niners have for their games, the Lions are probably locked in to the number 3 seed if they lose this game. But if they win, like I said, they've got this path, or they would need help, but they've got this path to having a bye.
Is Dan Campbell a rest the starters kind of guy?
That's a good question.
And that game is against the Vikings, so it would be resting the starters against a divisional rival.
It's a division rival.
Who you could put into the playoffs by doing that. So not just a team you probably don't like to begin with, but a team you would actively potentially be putting into the playoffs by resting your starters that you don't like. Yeah. So I don't know if Detroit rests them either way. One other element in this game that's pretty important, Tyron Smith, the Dallas left tackle, was hurt last week. It was a big problem. When he's not there, it's a huge loss at left tackle. We don't know if he's going to play yet. He didn't practice yesterday. It's up in the air at the moment. But if he's not there, I mean, look, Detroit doesn't necessarily have the pass rushes to take advantage of it, but it certainly makes it a lot easier if he's not available.
The line on the other side, I mentioned Penei Sewell, when he matches up with Micah Parsons, or that's going to be an incredible matchup, or any time, I mean, really, when Frank Ragnow's healthy, the Lions' offensive line is fantastic. Taylor Decker at left tackle. I mean, they've got one of the better lines in the NFL going up against this great Dallas pass rush, which isn't just Micah Parsons lining up against tackles. You know you're going to stunt. You're going to get him lined up over the guards. There is probably a weakness at left guard for the Lions. The Cowboys like to attack, so just watch for Micah Parsons. Watch where 11 is lined up all the time for Dallas. I bet he has 8 or 10 one-on-one matchups with Penei Sewell, but they'll move him around. I think that's going to be the difference in the game. I think it's Detroit's offense trying to keep up with Dallas's offense in this one. I think it's Detroit making sure that they run their game, get Gibbs his carries, get the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, create a couple of those deep shots to their speed receivers. I think Detroit has to keep up. I like the shootout as an expected game flow, I guess, because I think Dallas's offense is going to have a lot of success. So anything else to add here before we make our picks?
Nope.
Dallas by 6. Is that too much for the 11-4 Lions at the 10-5 Cowboys on Saturday night?
Yep, it is for me. I'm going with Detroit to at least keep it within 6, even if they don't win.
Yeah, I think that's where I want to go too. It's a lot of points for the Lions. The Lions are the team that, 3 or 4 times this year, they've just been randomly blown out.
Yeah.
And so I think, Vegas is basically predicting that, right? That Dallas is going to win by a touchdown and a lot of points are going to be scored in this game. But I'll take Detroit to keep it within the 6 here.